Front row seats. Look at you all. Isn't that awesome? Good evening. Soul and Beyond with Gwenda. How you doing on this Monday evening? What a strange weather day. What a low topic that is. It's not low. It's just, it doesn't do much for the soul, does it? So welcome everyone. Welcome along. And we've got some new people this evening. Delighted to have you here. Joe Flynn, you did get in. Awesome. Kylie Russell, we've welcomed you to the Spirit Seekers Society. Delighted to have you there. And Joy Cook, how you doing this week? Sally Merkin, good evening. Our beautiful Karen and Lisa. Yeah, there I am. Sneaking in from the back. I was just checking out behind the scenes and the VIP area where you all sit. So I was just having a sneak peek in there, that's all. What's going on here? Caught up with some things. So I was having a word with Moses earlier today, and I have asked that he bring through some messages for you that I may be able to be his channel for you this evening. But while I was in that space, Archangel Raphael came through. Now, for having Raphael, who is the Archangel of Healing, for him to step through, and I say him because to me he comes through with a masculine energy, and he most often looks more masculine than feminine. So to have Archangel Raphael present indicates that there is a need for some healing for some of you, or for one of you this evening. So you have the presence of Archangel Raphael with you. My day began today with a class in the Soul Mastery Collective, which was just awesome. And I have two tremendously gold star students in there. So it makes it, I don't know, just all the more heartwarming. And we were sharing some things around intentions and abundance. So the reason that you would use intentions in your life, and why having intentions, living intentionally, actually affects your abundance in your life. And then I ran straight from them to do a healing. And as soon as the young man was on the table, my hand went straight to his hip, and we hadn't even done the usual prep and getting him settled. It just went whammo in there, and I could feel the heat. So talking to him, saying that I was able to see that his hip was not sitting square, and we talked about the importance of the basin, of the pelvic basin, as I call it, and was able to see that he's not stepping. He's a tour guide for trail hikers, and when he's stepping, he's not maintaining his posture. But then when I went further into him, his spleen is carrying a lot of dampness, and his stomach is putting out too much acid. So in looking at that, I was able to see a person. Michelle, oh, okay, so you've come to dance with us tonight. Good on you, Michelle. Welcome, love. It's good to have you here. I'm sorry there's no dancing, though, but we dance. So, Colleen, hello. Aha. So here's my girl that needs some healing. Welcome, Colleen. So looking into him, I was able to see that there's actually a person in the organisation that he is working with that is causing the little boy within him to feel like he's in trouble. And you could see the little boy wanting to turn away, like, oh no, I don't want to see you. I don't want to be there. And I was explaining to him what I could see whilst putting the healing energy through his spleen and his hip, and noticing how all of it aligned with from one thing to the other. And he was trying not to cry. He recognized who I was talking about. who it was I was seeing and the impact that that person is having on him in the workplace. And the inspiration and the guidance he received on managing that was amazing, absolutely amazing. So it's a bit funky, isn't it, Joe? Glad you liked it. So that was absolutely beautiful to see that and have that. And something else, while I'm waiting for Moses, because that's right, Lisa, as I do, have a chat with Moses. I have a couple of things that I would love to share with you by way of uplifting hearts and really, really knowing that there is no death, right? There is no death. I met with a young man last week, and it was his first time of meeting someone like me, similar to me. In fact, I have to change that altogether. He's never met anyone like me. How could you anyway? There's only one of me. The world can only deal with one of me. I should be called the Kim Jane Welcome, the no nonsense, straight down the line healer and mystic. No fluff here. So this young man, I met him at a park because of circumstance, his work hours. It was all too difficult and he needed some immediate help. So I went to meet him. Now, 4 years ago, his mum passed away, and he is still in very deep sorrow, very deep grieving, brokenhearted. And I met with him because I was going to speak to him about his colitis, which the doctors have told him can never be healed. And of course, most of you on here know me and you know what I would say to that. Bah humbug is what I would say to that. So I asked him, do you believe and agree with what the doctors have told you, that this colitis is your life forever now, that it can't be healed? And he said, in my heart of hearts, no. And then he went to go on with a button. I said, stop right there. In your heart of hearts, no. Is that what you feel? And he said, yes. And I said, then that's what it is. And if that's the case, I can work with you. And he just looked at me a bit like, befuddled. Then his mum appeared. So I had been talking to him about colitis. I had been looking into him to see where the issue is in his bowel and what else I could see. I had done his pulses in accordance with traditional Chinese medicine because that is the Eastern philosophy that I love for wellness and I utilize. So I had done those things when we first were talking, and then had that conversation around doctors and his colitis, and his mum appeared. And I said to him, okay, so I didn't tell you about this part of myself, but your mum is standing next to you. Well, he nearly leapt off the seat. It was like someone poked him with a hot poker. He didn't know what to do with himself, and he immediately started to cry. And so then I was telling him what she was saying, and he was shaking his head, and he goes, look, I don't mean to be disrespectful, but is this a load of shite? It's not what he said. You know what I mean. He goes, I don't mean to be disrespectful, but, this is not funny. And I let him gather himself and waited for him to look at me, and I looked him straight in the eye and I said, no, this is not a game, and it's not a load of codswallop or shite. I'm sorry I didn't tell you that this is part of what I do and a big part of what I do. And this is where your healing comes in. Because you see, your grief over the loss of your mum is what is creating all this disturbance, which he couldn't understand. And having worked, done this for a long time now, I get it. People don't understand because they are not in alignment with faith and belief and hope, and they don't have an alignment with their own divinity, let alone the divine. So his mum was standing next to him and continued to talk. And of course, with the things she was saying, he couldn't deny it. Anyway, the exciting bit. Well, it's all exciting, but the exciting bit that brought tears to me, and it just opened the floodgates for him. A little jitty jitty, as we call them in the Noongar language, but they are to everyone the willy wagtail. Everybody knows the willy wagtail, right? Cheeky, naughty little bird. And they stand around and wag their tail. Well, this one came right up to us. And I looked at it and said, well, hello. And I looked at the mum and was like, so this is your symbol, your bird symbol. And she said, yes. And so I said to the bird, you need to hop up on the table. Well, it walked around me on the ground and then flitted itself up and sat on the end of the table and looked at me and gave me 2 tail wags, and then looked at the young man and wagged its tail fervently. And I said, no good sitting down there. Come on up. Come on up and see him. Well, he didn't know what to do with himself. The tears were like a dam that had opened, and this bird went jumpity, 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 jump, and it stopped just in line with me. And I said, no, keep going. Go right up and sit with him. And he was just like, oh, my God. And this bird came right up and sat on his phone, which was just next to his hand. Now, if any of you can tell me that you've had a jitty jitty, a willy wagtail come up that close to you out in the wild, then you'll be the second person I know that's happened to, because they are very flitty. They do not trust humans, and that was just amazing. And so there's this bird with this fella, and it was just looking straight at him and wagging. It's like it was doing a dance, Joe, wagging its tail around and bobbing, and it did not take its eyes off him. And then it turned around to me and just looked at me as if it was looking for, what do I do next? And I said to it, why don't you sit on him? Come up and sit on him. So I was talking to his mum telepathically at the same time. The bird got down off the table. It got down onto the seat, down onto the floor and the ground, and then it went around and it leapt up and sat on his thigh. And he did not know what to do with himself. Thank you, Lisa. The tears just streamed. And then he said, these were always my mum's favourite bird. And I said, well, there you go. And he goes, so is that mum? He's saying, is that mum? And I said, no, mum's next to you. This is her messenger, so that you can see something in this tangible world that relates her to you, so you can understand that she is here. And that cheeky little bird, it bounced around again, went back up on the table and come all the way down and sat on his phone again. It stayed with us for the whole time that his mum was there. And once she left, so did the bird. Not before it brought in a second one. And they both sat there and wagged their tail around. And then his mum was gone, and so were the birds. Isn't that just beautiful? So what could he say then? And then I was reading through his mum's messages for him. It was absolutely beautiful, Lisa. Thank you. It really touched my heart and made me cry too. It was awesome. And then I was telling him what his mum was saying, and she was saying that the cancer journey that she went on was so fast, too fast for her to keep up with, and that it felt like a roller coaster. Now, he got a little bit annoyed and he said there was nothing fast about it. It was 5 years. And I thought, you see, this is the thing about the human mind. And when you're in the human mind, you hear what you want to hear. You accept what you want to accept. And in doing that, we set our own imprisonment and we set our own limitations. If we learn to go past the mind, there are no limitations and all things can be understood. Before coming in for you this evening, I sit in a meditative space and I like to go into the no thought zone. How many of you have been in the no thought zone, as I call it, no thought zone? It is bliss and it is amazing. So when you are in there, you can ask for solutions that will come after the fact. But to sit in the no bliss gives the mind a rest, which means it gives you, your central nervous system, your vital organs, a rest from all of the emotional entanglements and the carried over tribulations and upsets. And this is why this young man has got severe colitis. So there was that, and that was amazing. A messenger for you, Kylie. So you must have been asking for something, and the Willy Wagtail has been the messenger to come and let you know your request has been heard, your prayer has been heard, or whatever it is you're calling for help for has been heard. And so it's come in as a respondent for you to let you know. It's beautiful. Thank you for sharing that. There you go. Kylie says, yep. Never, ever, ever are your calls for help, for guidance in anything, are they not answered? Never. What does happen is an assumption because you have in place your own imprisoned limitations, your own fences and barriers that you've created around your thinking, around your expectations. So I recently did a session on attachments, or that was last week, wasn't it? So when you are attached to an outcome, you're going to run into all sorts of problems. And this is the same as when people come for guidance and then they want to argue with the angelic beings or the ascended master that comes through. And they argue because they want the answer they want, because they believe that's what is right for them. When in fact, what I most often say to people is your guides, the angels, the elemental kingdom know more about your life than you ever will, unless you go on a soul mastery discovery or you go into delving into who you really are and learn to sit in that place of nothingness, the bliss of just the silence. Nothing else is there. So with saying to that young man, that his mum was saying that it was such a fast ride for her, too fast. She couldn't keep up. She felt like she was on a roller coaster, and all of a sudden his posture changed and he said, "Was that mum's word?" And I said, "Everything I'm saying to you is what your mum is saying. I do not do what a lot of other supposed psychics, mediums do, in that I give you my interpretation. I will tell you exactly what is being said." And he started to cry again. So I carried on with what his mum was saying. And what it was that roller coaster was her way of always describing something when life got out of hand. So more confirmation to him that this was his mum indeed. And when we finished, he looked at me with very different eyes and he said, I don't understand any of that, but I feel different and I can't wait for our next session. So it was lovely to see his face look eased of pain and to see his mum walk off with him, because she came back. I said to you, she left the table, but when he was leaving, she came back and walked with him to his car. So never ever feel that you are lost. Never feel that there's no one listening. If anything, the poor things, they hear everything. Give you a headache. So Michelle makes a good point here. Love the silence, but it's hard to keep. When you learn to master the silence, you can hold that within yourself so that it's a place you can go to at any time. So when the world gets crazy around you, you can go into that beautiful space of serene silence and just sit there. If you visualized yourself as a little floating monk meditating, and you held that as the image within you, that's where you would go. So that once you master the silence, it is there for you to go into at any time, because it is actually a part of you as it is a part of the divine. So it's absolutely amazing space to learn to venture into. And then the other thing that I wanted to share with you is most 2-year-olds are a handful, right? 2, the famous 2. And most of them are very difficult when you want to take them to the doctors, put them on the table, the hairdresser or whatever. A lady reached out to me to ask if I could help with her 2-year-old who has suddenly come out in what the lady believed to be eczema and very severely. And this little girl is 2, had never had anything at all. And the mum was very perplexed and couldn't figure it out. And she'd taken the child to a herbalist, and the herbalist said, oh, it's impetigo. And the mum said, well, to my own mind, I felt it was not impetigo. So she said, would you be able to help? And I said, well, you bring her along to me. That child never been here, never met me. And yet I asked the mum if she would sit her on the side of the healing table, and that little girl laid herself down as if she knew what was going to take place, put her arms down by her side and looked me straight in the eye. And I said, well, hello, my name's Gwenda. And I asked the mum what was her name, so I repeated it. I said, would you mind if I put my hand on your tummy? And she didn't take her eyes off me, but she just shook her head. And I said, thank you. So I put my hand on her tummy. Whoa, wow. What a whole lot of activity and knots, and it was all churned up. So I just left my hand there and moving around. I was talking to the mum about things and what has brought this into place, and the mum understood. And the little girl still had not taken her eyes off my face. So when I looked back down, and we were straight eye to eye, but she didn't move at all. And then once the heat in my hand, I felt it change, she sat up like a springboard, and her mum said, oh, is that enough? And she sort of nodded her head. But I asked then if I could have a look at her back and her inner elbows. And she sat herself down again, just sat there like a great little girl. And the mum lifted her shirt up at the back, and poor little darling, my goodness me, what severe eczema. And the mum said, it drives her mad with the itching and it must be stinging her. I said, well, no doubt. So I went and got some beautiful herbal beeswax and olive oil blend. And I was just using my special hand, my magic hand, and gently rolling that around her back, and she just slumped like she'd gone into the deepest meditative space. It was beautiful. And then it got really hot, and I thought, oh, she's not going to like that. And no, she didn't. She sat up and looked at me like, no more. And that was okay, because I'd done what I set out to do. And then I asked if I could look at her elbows, and they were all split, and they just looked so angry and sore. And she let me apply that. So that was Friday. I messaged the mum today and asked her, how's your little one? What have you noticed? And she came back and said, can't believe how the eczema looks, that it is just a pale pink. The rash has gone away. It's amazing. So I was delighted, of course. But it was her behaviour on the table, because yes, she may have been 2 or is 2, but it is most unusual for a child of that age to just lay down quietly and put her hands at the side. Absolutely amazing. So there's 2 of the beautiful stories I had for you tonight to hopefully bring inspiration to your heart and uplift to your heart, especially if you have someone who has left this world and you're grieving for them. Grief is a natural, of course, a natural thing when we love someone and we love to see them and hang out with them, and then suddenly they're not here anymore. But hear me with your heart when I say the grief is for ourselves. Right, everybody still here? The grief is for ourselves. Thank you, Michelle. Yeah, it was very special. And even today's healing was awesome. The grief is for ourselves. We are the ones who want that person back. The sadness, blessings, Jackie, and I hope that you'll be connecting with him. Take the time to sit into a beautiful space to spend with your dad. Thank you, Lisa. Yeah, a lot of people get, a bit jaded, a bit angry about that. But the fact is that grief is for ourselves. It's because we don't want to be without that person. We want them back, but we miss them. And we used to do this with them, or we wanted to see them grow old. The grief is for ourselves. And the thing is about grief, that it can create even more restrictions and limitations in your life and in the body than we realize, like the young man with the colitis. This is what the colitis is about. The bowel is all about elimination. He's not wanting to eliminate. He's holding on. And he's holding on to that tremendous sadness of losing his mum. I haven't forgotten the day I was having, a big tantrum with God down the freeway when my dad left. Whoa, man, did I have some things to say. And the time that I'd been to a beautiful lady's funeral or farewell. I had been working with her for some time, and the doctors could not explain why the tumours in her brain and the ones down her spine had gone right down to less than a pea. Some had gone. Amazing. And she was doing so well. And then the upset with the person that was really at the back of all of this, there was a big upset with them again. And she just said, I can't do this. I can't do this. And the cancer went rampant within 48 hours. And when I came home from her farewell, I had another hissy fit with God and said, I'm not doing your work anymore. I'm done. I am not doing this anymore. It is just heartbreaking. It's ridiculous. You don't help. I had a big hissy fit about that. And that night, I was talking to God, but I ended up in a space with the Grand Council. My son wanted to know in the morning how could my body be in that position, and were my arms all right, especially my right arm. And he said, you looked like a broken swan on the floor, Mum. And I don't know how you did that with your body. So he and my then partner were telling me that I was having conversation with, I kept referring to the Grand Council, and I was pleading with them to take me home, to get me out of here. I don't want to stay here anymore. I don't like this place. I don't want to do this work anymore. And the the conversation that my son and my then partner shared with me was amazing of what took place. Yes, Karen, it is always our own individual, unique story, because we are individuals and we are all unique. You think about it, there is no one else in the world like you. Even if you've got your mum's nose, your dad's eyes, your grandma's butt, your great grandmother's bad back. No, they're nothing. There is no one else in the world like you. No one. And you should be. Oh, thank you, Jackie. What, bless me for staying. I didn't have a choice. So I have tried to retire a few times, So when you get caught up in things and you're caught up in other people's web of life, take a moment to step out of it and check in with yourself and remind yourself that you are, I don't know, Michelle, excuse me, find another Gwenda maybe. Thank you. That's beautiful. Thank you very much. Oh, beautiful. Thank you, Jackie. It has been an amazing journey, and I am very, very humbled by the experiences that I've had with both those that have passed, those that are in comas, those that are cerebral palsied or, paralyzed and can't speak. And then, of course, with those beautiful souls like yourselves that come to explore more about life and more about who you really are and understanding what a soul connection is. I was at a private home last week, and Joe, if Joe's still here, Joe was there, and the lady there actually makes these amazing candles. And some people would say, thank goodness for that, Michelle. Oh, Kim. Is that why Archangel Raphael is here, Kim? And that's not for one moment taking away from you, Colleen, not at all. Kim is just saying that her dad passed away 10 days ago. I may be able to link in with him. And it's interesting that now my throat chakra wants to start playing up. Oh, good. Thanks, Joe. So we were at a home party, and by the way, I'm having one. This lady makes these amazing candles, and she tells you the story of what the candle is about and why she's got particular crystals and flower petals. And hey, Lisa, she goes to Geraldton, and the names and things. So this one is as above, so below. How perfect for here. But the lady heard me talking to Joe, and she asked me, do you do readings? And before I could answer, Joe says, oh, Gwenda does a lot of things. And I said, she's kind of looked at Joe like, what? And I said, well, yes, I do readings. And I was getting ready to jump in and say, no, I'm not a psychic, and I'm not a sidekick either. And then I said to her, yes, I do a lot of things. You can't really put me into a box. There's no box that fits in this world. So it was really interesting how she changed. Now, what I found even more interesting is her eyes change when she finishes telling us about the candles. I first met her at Joe's house when Joe had one of these presentations of the candles, and I must admit I felt very uncomfortable with her eyes, and trying to see. I was cheating, trying to see what was going on. And then at this recent presentation, it was the same again. And then when she finished and she was speaking to me when she was done and wanted to know if I did readings, her eyes were entirely different. And I thought, wow, isn't that something amazing? I understand when someone is really focused and concentrating, but everything that she makes is, she gently calls it a bit of witchery. Yeah, sure, Lisa. Can you see that? There you are. So this one has got the emerald tablet of Hermes Trismegistus. In other words, what happens in a higher realm or plane of existence also happens in a lower realm. And there's all sorts, I can't tip it over because it's got, who did that? Okay, so we have gone very clouded, and just before I was talking to you about her eyes, I saw the presence come in. And so now I have a clouded screen, which is very interesting. Oh, there we are, back again. Now, no playing naughty games. So I'm just going to settle in here with Archangel Raphael and see how I may serve as his channel. And also Moses. Now, when I was getting ready for you, there was a crossover between Merlin and Moses. And sometimes they can look somewhat similar. So Moses says, but all is one and the same. To have the presence of Moses is always deeply humbling. He has the most serene and peaceful presence, and yet commands an energy and my presence, your presence, in a way that is never foreboding, of course. It is always deeply peaceful. Through this time that you are walking through now, this time of the world has been here before. You see, nothing much changes in this realm called Earth. If you look around you, you will find that so many things are the same, simply with a different cover. Everything that is being experienced by you presently in this world has been here before. There is nothing new, and in that, as this channel had spoken to you, nothing ends. And in some ways, you could look upon this earth as a constant cycle and a recycle. This world is in a transition phase, but are you? For those familiar with the story as it is told of the parting of the sea, it is a description only to describe those who get lost and who choose only to stay in the world of the heaviness and the world of the weighted materialistic part of this world. Those who came through the parting of the sea were those who knew that there was a far greater presence available to them. Follow your light. Be your light. You are the ones who are light bearers, and you are called upon at this time of the world to bring forward your light. As you know in the story of the parting of the sea, many were washed away, but this is metaphorical. So much of what is called the Bible is misunderstood and in some ways misrepresented. The metaphor refers to the people who are lost in the world around them and who prefer not to see the light. It can be difficult for those of you who are light bearers to let go of those who wish not to see the light. Beyond this world, as this channel is able to see and talk to you about, there is so much life. There is so much to be seen. But being able to get to what you might think is a realm of heaven, you are all trapped by the heaviness of the astral plane. And this, I would say to you, is like the sea. And it has everyone caught in it. But your light can outshine anything. Return to your light and let yourself be the bearer of light that you are. God will be forever at your side and within your heart. You have nothing to fear. Thank you, Moses. Speaking of the way that things are in this world, I have spoken before about the use of words. And those of you who study with me know that the power of words is incredible. And this is why people jumped on the idea of language and creating a spell, that we can use our words to be a spell every day in so many ways. And that is very true. But in these recent years, we've seen very good words be misused, misrepresented, and manipulated. Now, one thing that I would like to share with you is something that came through for the young man today, but it was presented to me on the weekend while I was working in the garden. And it is the use of the word safe and also the phrase, I'm in my safe place. Now, if you're going to be using a word safe, and now as I've driven around the place, it's catching my attention. And unfortunately, I was waiting for the, what do you call it, the GPS thing to click over in the car. But while that was happening, the radio was on. And if they said the word once, they said it at least 10 times. And I thought, oh, so here's the other part of the mental manipulation, continuing to stir the pot of fear. So what we do is we use the word safe and keep putting it out to you that you're safe. Well, if you are thinking that, like, I'm safe, what's behind that? If you have to be told all the time that you are safe and it's safe to do this, so you're safe over there, what are you if you're not safe? And what is it that you need to think about the word safe all the time? So this is a word that I'm going to ask you, after the guidance that came through today and the explanation, stay away from it. Use other words like being empowered. I'm inspired. I am soul inspired. I am soul motivated. I am aligned with my life. I am aligned with my dreams. Do you see a difference in the vibration, in the feel of the words, rather than, oh, yes, I can go over there because I'll be safe, or I'm doing this because it's safe? This is spell work at its best, because what that is doing is holding you unconsciously and subconsciously in a place of believing there is fear, believing there is something to be fearful of. Can you see that? So if you hear anyone, if you start to pick up and hear that safe is being played, and it's being played on mainstream media like nobody's business, so it is part of the web of controlling of the mind, and that in itself brings about greater self-imposed limitations, self-imposed imprisonment. You want to rise above that. So you use words that are empowering. You use words that are powerful. You use words that are insightful and inspiring for and from your heart and your soul. Yes, that's right, Lisa. It is very much up to you in how you use your language. And by using a phrase like, I'm in my safe place, you're letting your soul know that this is not good here. This life is not good here. So a lot of people are retreating to their home, or retreating to somewhere that they can call their safe place. Hear this in the way that it's meant. Don't let your mind go off talking about children that are under threat and things. That is not what this is about. But that is a clever part of the manipulation. So become more aware of the kind of words that you will allow yourself to be drawn into, and also that you use yourself. Very important. Now, to Saint Germain. So Saint Germain is working in tandem with Archangel Raphael, and there isn't really a higher transformational energy light being than Saint Germain. Hook him up with Archangel Raphael for some incredible healing. So Kim Jane, straight off the bat, there is healing from both the radiance of Saint Germain and Archangel Raphael to your womb, to your uterus, and that area, that pelvic part, the basin around the uterus, because you've got a lot of thickening around there, and there are issues there for you, Kim. They are somewhat aged, but there are issues there also around your your cycle, and there is a tremendous amount of healing that's being offered to you there, Colleen Roberts, for yourself. The healing that is going to run down the whole length of your spine. The spine has got so many of the incredible keys to the energy bodies, all layers of them. I'm sorry, what I'm trying to speak their message and also look at the imagery that they're showing me. So in the back, there are obviously all the different portals of energy that go with what are called the chakras, but there are also all of the keys to the very important areas of your central nervous system. And Colleen, a lot of the main nerves that run from the spinal cord for you through to looking at your thoracic spine and then down to the lumbar spine. So within the thoracic, we're looking around the lungs, and there is extreme weariness, and there is also some tears, but it's the weariness, the exhaustion that is in your lungs. So you're being infused all the way down your spine, Colleen, with this incredible transformational healing energy blended between Saint Germain and Archangel Raphael. And we go further down. The right-hand side of your large bowel does not function well, and it gets quite impacted. This is putting pressure through what you believe to feel like a hip and some lower back issue. There actually isn't anything wrong with your spine, with your back physically, and the physicality. It is all very much to do with the nerves running off the spine, and it's really because they're in overload. So, Colleen, you have got a lot of overload in your central nervous system, parasympathetic nervous system, and through to the right-hand side of your bowel and into your lungs. Now, there is grief in both your bowel and your lungs, but it is, we were talking earlier about grief being our own because we want someone back. This is grief of yours for loss of your life, loss of you feeling like you have got the power of being able to live your life. Is that making sense to you, Colleen? So you have received some beautiful healing through that, and you will find you'll have more vitality. You're also needing more clarity around yourself going forward as your life, and feeling like you can step forward with ease. Yeah, you're welcome, Karen. So what comes through, and I don't question it because I have unwavering faith and just too many years, too many lifetimes under my belt. So now also Kelly Hall, going to the back, round the back of your head, but coming through to the TMJ. So this joint in the jaw, a really important one. Somebody, I can't remember it. TMJ, TJM, it'll come. But Kelly, there's like a band of tightness coming around through the back, down the base of your skull and through to this major joint here. There is some expansion going on with you that you're resisting, and you're also not wanting to let go of the old, what has been. So to release this and give yourself some peace in the back of your head, Really feels like I've got some kind of big band around the base of my spine and through here to the TJM. TMJ. So, Kelly, this is all about you not wanting to let go of things that you've tried really hard at and have worked hard at, and that's why you don't want to let it go, because you've put in such a lot of work, but it's causing a lot of angst here, and that of course is affecting not only your throat chakra, but it's affecting the higher chakras right up to the 12th one. So it's blocking your access through the crown chakra and your third eye. Kelly, take a look at the things that you're not wanting to let go of, because I've done this for a long time and I like doing it and so it's time for it to go. Michelle Foster, looking at your legs. It's interesting that you didn't go to dancing, or there was no dancing tonight, and there is a little bit of a dance being done with celebration to say that's good, because you've got some inflammation in the ligaments in both your hips and your knees, and you notice it plural, so in both hips, both knees. This is not anything that's going to turn into anything nasty. It just needs rest. And also when you are doing dancing, you're favoring one side of yourself, and you're taking yourself out of balance. So really need you to be a lot more centered in yourself when you are dancing, Michelle. And this tightness and the inflammation in these tendons will settle. It'll go away. So. And Colleen's saying, yes, definitely. Thank you. I've been on and off sick since the beginning of August. This weekend came down really hard, persistent chesty cough. So here we're in the lungs. Coughing fit before getting a call, struggling to breathe. Oh, no wonder Archangel Raphael coming in. Oh, sweetheart. And well, you've got a double whammy. And also, everyone, please make sure that you ask, because they came in tonight to help you. So when we finish, Colleen, take some time. Michelle, Kelly, any one of you that feels that you need some of that transformational healing energy, go and sit somewhere quietly, or if you've got a seat of kids or a husband or whatever, he should be able to get his own baked beans. But anyway, if you've got a seat to one of them, see to them, and then as soon as you can, go and have a nice shower or a bath and just sit quietly and invite the beautiful purple rays of Saint Germain to be transformational through every part of you, and combine it with Archangel Raphael's awesome green healing light. All you have to do is call for them. That's all. That's all you have to do. That's beautiful, Colleen. You make me smile. And yeah, you're very welcome, Michelle. Very welcome. It really is easy to look after yourself when you can call upon these beautiful beings that are there to serve you. That's all they want to do. That's all they've got to do all day. They don't have to go and do dishes and washing and fold up the jocks and socks. So, oh, interesting, Lisa. Is that right? Oh, I do love these synchronicities, and I love how it comes about. That is just divine. Well, everyone, it's come to that time of the night already. So thank you very much for being here. And I thank oh, that's lovely, Lisa. I do thank Kelly and Joe, but I thank you for sharing and inviting people to come and join us for the show. I really appreciate it very much. And we never know who it is that we're helping by doing that. You just never know. So you're welcome, Kylie, and it's great to have you in the society. If you're not a member of the society, you should really look into it. Not that I'm biased or anything like that. Much. You're welcome, Jackie. So, oh, by the way, everyone, next week is a public holiday. The King's having a birthday, so we won't be on next week. But you'll always find on the registration page that it will tell you the date. But we'll be back the following Monday. So next Monday is public holiday here. I'm sorry, I don't know about the rest of Australia. But in the meantime, everybody have fabulous, Joy. I'm glad you enjoyed it. Yeah, that's right, Joe. Yeah, so thank you everyone very much. Have a wonderful evening, and I look forward to hearing from you or seeing you not next Monday, the Monday after. Good night for now.